Welcome back to JW World News, and today we are talking about another topic. A Jehovah's Witness activist handcuffed to the fence at the JW branch in Emmen. Now, this is quite interesting, and we're going to look at the backstory of this activist, and we're going to see what he's doing in Emmen. Now, this is happening all over the world, folks. Activists are rising up, and they are speaking out. And this is why we know that the brick by brick, this religion will crumble. It's not going to stand up because there's too many people speaking out about this destructive cult. So here's a look at Emmen, what's happening in Emmen. Let's go right over there. Now, in case you don't know where Emmen is right around Denmark. It's in the Netherlands. And you see that little dot there? We're going to zoom in on it. It's the municipality of Emmen. And it's right here in this little area. It's a municipality, quite a big area, well known. And here's this activist that is speaking out. So he handcuffed himself to the fence at the branch office in Emmen. And his words were stop declaration of death of ex-members. So let's see what he means by that. The chairman, Henri Dahlmen, of the foundation that fights against social exclusion of former members of Jehovah's Witnesses, handcuffed himself to the closed entrance gate at the head office of the Religious Society in Emmen on Saturday afternoon. So this is new news, folks. And by the way, we get a lot of our news from watching Watchtower. And if you don't know who Watching Watchtower is, I will show you who Watching Watchtower is. They are watching Watchtower Steady, and this is their site. I recommend everyone to go on and sign up, subscribe, hit subscribe. He has 445 subscribers, 42 videos. This individual's anonymous, doing a fabulous job. My wife doesn't even have to do a lot of work. She just checks out his videos, and then we make a broadcast on it. So thank you again to Watching Watchtower for this news clip. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to go back. I think that screen's fine. And here's the picture. I'm going to pull myself off the screen. You can see the individual here, the activist, and he's handcuffed himself to the fence in Emmen. I think that's a great idea. I think we should all do that. Like, let's listen into the backstory of this guy. It's quite interesting, and we'll see what he's doing. Dalman is his name. He came to Emmen with a group of supporters to present an open letter to the National Board of Jehovah's Witnesses, and in it, the activist calls on the board for a dialogue about social exclusion. In English, shunning of ex-members from the Watchtower. So he's against shunning. Now, I couldn't get a lot more on that one. It had a paywall, but my good wife found this one. And this one is the former Jehovah's Witnesses was not greeted at the grandmother's funeral. So this is what drove him to this activism, was shunning, similar to myself. You get shunned, and it causes a lot of grief within a person, and a person's looking for answers. And when we find out that this is a cult and they said they have the truth, but it's the lie, and it's really satanic because Satan's the father of the lie. And they teach, even in their organization, they teach the elders and the lawyers that it's part of theocratic warfare strategy. And we've taken you to different articles in the Jehovah's Witness, JW.org, to prove that's what they say. And they say it's okay to lie in court. But yet we go to the Bible, and the Bible says that there's 7 detestable things to God, and lying is the most detestable. So their theocratic warfare is not based on the Bible. It is based on the devil. And that's it. So what's happening all over the world? They're getting rid of these devilish, cultish religions that are destructive. And here's this man, the Dutch Henri Dahlmen, 50, from Alton, is a fighter. Jehovah's Witnesses, discriminatory exclusion policy must come to an end, and he is trying to achieve this in all possible ways. In 2010, the Henri Dahlmen is summoned to the Jehovah's Witness in I'm going to say some of these wrong, Arnhem. And at the time, he was promoting the interests of Kurds in the Netherlands. Dahlmen grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Henri Dahlmen grew up in the foster family that is part of the community of Jehovah's Witnesses. And within the family, he suffers physical and psychological abuse. And when he was 17 years old, he left his foster home. In 2018, he told his story to the Commission of Violence of Youth Services, and by order of the Dutch House of Representatives, the Commission investigates non-sexual violence in youth institutions and foster families. And Dalman blames the Child Protection Board for not investigating his foster parents thoroughly. And after the Commission's report has been presented, Dalman receives apologies from the Child Protection Board and the Inspection of the Healthcare and Youth. Now, former Minister of Legal Protection Sander Dekker asks Dalman to set up an interest group for people who have been victims of psychological and physical or sexual abuse within a dependency relationship. Dalman is a Christian and visits a congregation of, I can't say the name, of an area, and only God's grace prevented me from losing my faith. So he's still a Christian. He believes in Christ. And a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come out, realize that Jehovah is a made-up name. It's made up. It's not real. We can go back to Yahweh, but we can do a lot of research on that. But we all come back to Jesus because Jesus was proven. He historically, he did walk the earth. He did turn over the money tables. All the historians agree with that. So Jesus, like I say in a lot of my videos, he was an apostate, just like us. He was against the religions of his day. So here's this fella here, Dalman. He thinks he sees one elder in the Kingdom Hall, but there are three. A judiciary committee, Dalman immediately realizes. A judicial committee is a group of three or more elders that is formed during the internal judicial procedures at Jehovah's Witnesses and judges whether someone is sufficiently repentant of an offense or not. And there's a little side article, attacks on Jehovah's Witness. Germany kills 8 people. We ran that article. I'll leave the link here, so if you want to read through that, you can. Now, it goes on to say the elders confront him with his political activities and say, if you do not repent of this sin and stop, we will expel you. A week later, the official announcement takes place. Dalman is excluded from the community because he is politically active and votes. I was no longer welcome in the church. Other members were not allowed to contact me. So here the guy didn't do anything wrong. Didn't commit fornication, didn't commit adultery. He voted. Wow. You know, they hide CSA, they cover it up. But here a guy goes and votes and they expel him. What a gross religion. Completely ignored. Okay, so after a week of announcements, Dalman ran into a group of witnesses, including an elder in Arnhem, and a group was not allowed by the elder to greet him because he was an apostate. Can you imagine? The elder stands, oh no, don't go see that guy, he's an apostate. You see, this is what they do to us all over the world, to apostates, to Jesus. You know, that's what Jesus did. He was an apostate. Keep that in mind, folks, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this. Jesus was an apostate, and you can watch many of my other videos. And we are simply following Jesus' footsteps. That's what we're doing. We are turning the tables over, the money tables of the Watchtower. It's a business, and all it is concerned about is money and getting its charity status. Because by having a charity status, the governments give these cults millions of dollars every year, and cults that destroy families. So we're standing up. Why are we giving cults charity money and calling them a charity? They don't help the poor. They don't help anybody with charity money. All they do is buy property, real estate, and print magazines and send their soldiers out for free. They do it for free and deliver their message worldwide and gain more cult members. So this is why we got to shut it down. It's a destructive cult, and it's run by 9 members who claim that they only are the messengers of God on earth. They claim that. for the whole world, and they claim everyone else is wicked. I was in this organization for 30 years, and I've been shunned now for 12. So, completely ignored at his grandmother's funeral, who was a Jehovah's Witness 3 years after his exclusion, Dahlman was completely ignored. 500 people were there, and nobody greeted him. And that made him angry and sad. Could you imagine? This guy didn't do anything wrong, goes to the funeral of his grandmother, and no one will talk to them. This is a destructive sect, people. The expulsion of a member before a breach of the rules is not an incident, but official policy within the Jehovah's Witnesses, says Dalman. And a witness who steps down or is expelled from the organization is, according to him, declared socially dead. And that's what they think of us. Family and friends are not allowed to make contact anymore. And even ones that are no longer in the religion, they somehow still have indoctrination in their heads, and they still view us as dead. Even ones that leave the cult, because they didn't fix their brains. So this is what we're seeing all over. I've experienced that here in Alberta, in my own area, with friends who left the cult but won't talk to me because I'm an apostate. So they still believe it. It's still in their heads. And they left because they committed fornication or something, and they're on the outside, and they still believe the bullshit. So this is the problem, folks. The indoctrination is deep, and the exclusion is deep within this religion. It has to be shut down. So the Watchtower Society as a religious community is often called, bases its exclusion of a witness, according to Dalman, on, among other things, 1 Corinthians 5. And that chapter says that the believers should not mix themselves with fornicators, greedy, idolaters, slanderers, or robbers, and they should remove the wicked from amongst their midst. So here we have all these pedophiles in the congregation. So yeah, we should get the hell out, because it's just a sick place to be, this Jehovah's Witness place. So some families take this so literal that they sleep, eat, and live separately from the apostate family members. And this can lead to mental and emotional problems by former members. Now we talk about convicted. During a protest against the leaders of the Jehovah's Witnesses in the city of Emmen in 2018, Dalman meets Jim Winter. Winter is also a former Jehovah's Witness, shunned 6 weeks earlier. Both of them are convinced that they need to do something against the exclusion policy of the organization. The idea subsided until on the 16th of March 2021, Dalman read a message that startled him. The Belgian court convicted Jehovah's Witnesses for inciting discrimination, hate, and violence against former members. And the organization has to pay a fine of 96,000 euros for shunning and socially isolating members who left the community. Now we're talking, folks. 96,000 euros, I know in Canadian dollars, is like probably $150,000. You know, what's a euro? It almost takes $2 Canadian to buy one. But yeah, it's now we're talking. The Watchtower has to have their pantsuit off for everyone that is shunned. So let's see what happened. Appeal, Belgium, Jehovah's Witnesses handled in March. The Belgian court will look at the appeal of the Jehovah's. Of course, they appeal it, right, on March 22nd. And the witnesses disagreed with the ruling of the criminal court in Gent. Last year, March, the Jehovah's Witnesses were sentenced to a fine of 96,000 euros for inciting discrimination and hatred or violence against people who left the community. And at the end of November, the court in Gent handled the case, and it decided that the former members get the opportunity to write their defense. Dalman, even if they lose the procedure in Belgium, we will continue. So, according to Dalman, there are also committees in Switzerland, Poland, and the Czech Republic. They want to press charges against Jehovah's Witnesses for their policy of excommunication, and the resistance spreads like an oil stain. So, folks, I'm in Canada here. I'm looking for a lawyer. I would like to press charges. If there's a lawyer out there that hears this in Canada, and if you guys know of a lawyer, I also would like to press charges. We have a petition here in Canada to try to shut this charity down. We have 500 signatures. We need 1,000. This guy's doing the same thing. The initiator in Belgium case is Patrick Heck, a high-ranked Jehovah's Witness, who left the community after 35 years. He was part of a judicial committee that shunned members who left for years, until he found that shunning went a step too far. The interfederal, I can't say that word, well, the government, right, It looks like there was 15 victims that joined the lawsuit. So the ruling comes as a shock for the former Dutch Jehovah's Witness, Dahlman says, and this case did not take place in the United States of America with its culture of claims, but in Belgium, a neighboring country. In our private Facebook groups of former members, the question arose immediately: when are we going to take action? And that's what we have to do, folks. If you check our website on our channel, we have do not call stickers to put on your residential doors. You can get them off our website. You can make your own, but they're available, and we want to educate our neighbors in our communities of the pedophilia religion and how they hide it. It's in a blue envelope, and only 3 elders know. No one in the congregation knows who's a pedophile. And then to rehabilitate pedophiles, the elders take them out in service where there's children and kids. So we have to protect our neighborhoods from these pedophiles, and the congregations are full of them. So, collective report. Dahlman contracts the Belgian Hague on the 9th of October 2021. And the Dutch Committee Against JW Shunning because it becomes a reality. Dahlman is the president. The committee wants to collectively report Jehovah's Witnesses for inciting discrimination and damaging honor and good name through a civil procedure. And that's what we need to do in Canada here. I need to do that. The committee hires a lawyer, company that is willing to investigate the judicial possibilities for the former members. At the moment, about 20 former Jehovah's Witnesses are supporting the initiative. The top priority of the committee is collecting money for prior research. Dahlman expects to have a sufficient amount this month to start the procedure. The former members also want to organize activities such as symposia, like Japan's doing, in the future. We want to educate people about the policies of Jehovah's Witnesses and the effects they have on children, for example. And that's what's happening in Japan. So we can take note of some of these countries here. And I think in Canada, we have to look at this. Canada, I don't see us doing anything. Canada is sitting on their hands. They're doing nothing. And we need some help here in Canada in a big way, because the Jehovah's Witnesses are all over and they are hiding pedophiles and they're shunning and destroying families. Now, Petition. In addition to the judicial path, Dahlman also is focusing on politics. The committee has started a petition, and that's what we have, and you'll see it in the descriptions of this video in Canada. But they started a petition in which they call the Dutch House of Representatives to come into action against the shunning policy of Jehovah's Witnesses immediately. And the group of former members wants the discriminating policy of the organization to be punishable by law. That's what I think, and that's what we all think, even if the law needs to be changed. And that's what has to happen. Dahlman, there is a freedom of religion in the Netherlands, but these policies go much too far. Parliament should discuss these matters. This is probably one of the most destructive cults in the world, 8.7 million people, all controlled by 9 members. And there's suspicion that these 9 members are involved in crimes. Now, in the meantime, 975 people signed the petition. When it has 1,000 signatures, Dahlman wants to present it to the House of Representatives. At least 10% of the signers are still part of the Jehovah's Witness community, he notes. And they disagree with the policy but do not dare to say that out loud because they fear shunning. I am also doing this for them. And that's what we're doing here, folks, in Canada. I'll be the spokesman. I'm already shunned. But if you're a member, former member, and you want to sign our petition, please do, because we're going against the shunning. So here he is. He's going up against JW Org, this one man. And remember, we ran a video. One man can pound a brick out and knock a tower down. So the tower is in every country. The watchtower is in every country. So all of us activists have to get in with our hammers and start knocking brick by brick within our country. And that's what this activist, Dahlman, is doing an excellent job. So thumbs up for Dahlman. Now, as a result of the action, Socialist MP Van Nispen asked Minister Dekker, Legal Protection, whether he saw enough possibilities to fight the shunning practices. The minister writes at the beginning of December 21 that shunning is not punishable by law. and that he did not receive any signals making the phenomena punishable, has any added value. Following that statement, Dahlmen decides to report the matters to the police, hoping to start criminal prosecution. I might do that. Together with former Jehovah's Witness Jim Winter, he goes to the police. Winter presses charges against the president of the Judicial Committee of the local municipality, and Dahlmen wants to sue the president of the Judicial Committee of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Arnhem. Last week, a couple that was shunned at the end of last year pressed charges against the president of the Jehovah's Witnesses. It is a strong case because there is a recording of the announcement of their shunning available, Dalman says. Procedure against Jehovah's Witnesses is promising. Judicial expert expects that a criminal procedure against Jehovah's Witnesses because of their policy of shunning will be a complex case in the Netherlands. This guy's a former professor of religion and law of a university, and a denomination can exert discipline over and break contact with a member who breaks rules. The law gives it that freedom. However, the denomination goes too far if disciplining aims to declare a person socially dead. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. They do that. They all do that. And they're taught that by the governing body. It's in the Watchtower. It can then no longer appeal to the Bible. Therefore, I encourage the criminal proceedings against Jehovah's Witnesses. However, he expects more from a civil procedure between two civilians. In fact, if facts comparable to those in Belgian case are discovered, I think such a procedure is promising. Former members have access to footage of high-ranking Jehovah's Witnesses calling thousands of followers to avoid apostates. And we've seen that all over our channels. And in that case, they misuse discipline. You see, they don't know us individually, but yet they're broadcasting us as a certain destructive seed. As a result, even my family that's not Jehovah's Witness, that quit, will not talk to me because of their destructive discrimination. And that has to stop. And we have to sue the hell out of the Watchtower. Everyone has to sue the hell out of the Watchtower, and they get broke financially, and then we get something out of our suit. Now let's carry on and see if this guy can win. The three charges are insults, defamation, and slander. And we intend to get several former members to press charges and hope that these reports are linked to each other so that the prosecutor can take up the case. At the beginning of January, the police called Winters with notice, and this case is too old. We cannot do anything for you, Dahlmen. Unjustified, we think, because this social condemnation goes on. And when I walked around in Emmen, I'm still ignored completely by Jehovah's Witnesses. The police are now investigating whether the complaint will be declared admissible after all. Above all, Dahlmen hopes that the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves come to their senses and stop shunning people. And then our efforts are unnecessary. And isn't that the truth? Isn't that what a lot of us have said? Blood bond. Jehovah's Witnesses do not automatically exclude anyone who breaks the biblical moral norms. A spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, Netherlands, reacts in a written statement upon request. He says, but if a baptized member makes it a habit to break the norms and is not prepared to change his habits, he or she will be excluded based on biblical principles. So there's no biblical principles about voting. There's nothing. So how did they do that one? All Jehovah's Witnesses agree to live according to those norms when they personally and well considerately take the decision to be baptized. And in my case, I went up north. I was preaching to unassigned territories. And I came back and told a few Aboriginal stories, and I'm shunned. That's what happened to me. So I think I have a case here in Canada, and I think I'm going to go to the police about it and see what they'll do. Because they can start criminal investigation for free. I don't have to pay for that. And then at least we can see what they can find. So according to the spokesperson, each witness then acts according to his or her religious conscience in applying biblical counsel to limit or terminate dealings with excluded persons. Dean Hertog stresses that excommunicated people can still attend the organization's religious gatherings. Well, who would want to attend the cult after you've left it, right? But they can still attend and receive spiritual care and from our elders. It's bullshit. These guys are liars, and it's bullshit. The person is not left alone, or as some saying, seen as an apostate. He is welcome and encouraged. That's bullshit. So you see, the Jehovah's Witness spokesmen are liars, bold-faced liars. They're taught to lie. They lie in court, and they lie to the news media. So we don't buy into that. Although the religious relationships between Shunned and his family changes, the blood bond remains, says Den Hertog. The bond of marriage remains intact. The love and the daily life within the family do not change, in other words, and that's bullshit. So I left, went through a divorce. When you leave the religion, if your spouse is in it, they're going to stay or leave with you. And lots of them stay. So we just get out of the cult. And we just can't deal with it any longer. It says there are more than 29,000 Jehovah's Witnesses in the Netherlands, and they are divided into 353 congregations. So there's the end of the story, folks. It's happening. It's happening all over. And it's going to change the way Jehovah's Witnesses operate all over the world. So it's about us activists standing up and handcuffing ourselves to the branch office. Get a petition going in your country. Look into how you can go after these guys. And there's ways that you can do it without cost yourselves a lot of money. But this is going to be interesting to see what happens in this case, and we'll be following it. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and we'll keep you posted on whether this guy wins that shunning, that legal case that he's after. So keep up the good work in Emmen, and we want to give this guy here, Dalman. This guy, I'm going to show you here. We want to give Dalman a big thumbs up for all his hard work. So that's it, folks, and until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.